Driving to Zero is a new podcast series from Automotive News looking at the auto industry's shift to carbon neutrality. In the latest episode, we take a look at the role of government regulation in helping and or hurting that transition. In the episode titled Promise and Peril, former EPA Office of Transportation and Air Quality Director Margo Oge talks about her role as the chief architect of greenhouse gas emission standards under the Obama administration and how her work negotiating a deal with major auto manufacturers helped crystallize the U.S. government's first ever action to regulate greenhouse gas emissions under the Clean Air Act. Here's a bit of that new episode of Driving to Zero. According to Margo Oge's book, each company had its own unique priorities and hang-ups in the initial talks. General Motors wanted credits for producing flex-fuel ethanol vehicles. Chrysler wanted protections for its profitable Jeep Cherokee and other SUVs. Toyota wanted credits for the Prius, despite the fact that it was already well established in the marketplace. Also, remember, this is 2009. Chrysler has declared bankruptcy, GM is careening in that direction, and Ford is also at risk. Margo believes this had a complicated effect on the talks, but ultimately helped the EPA's effort. Chrysler is in the middle of its sell-off and restructuring. It has the fewest carbon-cutting technologies in the pipeline, so Margo says Chrysler seemed a bit lost and wasn't all that helpful in discussions. But she also writes in Driving the Future that maybe the financial calamities, quote, scared them straight, referring to GM and Ford. The Obama administration was working on sending tens of billions of dollars in financial support for American automakers. That, plus the offer to give automakers one national program to follow instead of multiple sets of regulations, made auto executives more cooperative than Margo ever remembered when it came to working with regulators.
I think for the first set of greenhouse gas standards, 2012 to 2016, I think there was a broad agreement among the car manufacturers. They had seen what California was trying to do. They were really happy that we were harmonizing. That to them, that was the biggest issue. They didn't want to deal with three different programs. And I don't blame them. They just want one national program.
That's a piece of our latest episode of Driving to Zero, the auto industry's roadmap to carbon neutrality. Later in the episode, we also hear from GM's former chief economist, Elaine Buchberg, about how the Inflation Reduction Act has changed the landscape for automakers and their transition to electric vehicles. You can find Driving to Zero wherever you get your podcasts.